Hello and welcome back to another episode of Walkabout. For today's episode, we're shooting a Olympus C-2100 Ultra Zoom digital camera. This is from, I think, the year 2000, and it's a 2.1 megapixel bridge type camera. So it's one of those that zooms very far. It has a 10 times optical zoom. It's interesting. And interestingly enough, this camera is also infrared capable. The sensor did not block infrared rays, I guess, so infrared wavelengths. So you can use it to shoot digital photos, but using an IR filter. So that's really cool. And I picked this up for about $30, which is great. And that's what we're going to be focusing on mainly. But I will also be shooting some pictures with it normally. And let's jump right into the video, and we'll talk about some of my thoughts on this on the other side. Cool. So I'm in my backyard now, and I'm going to take two test shots to show you how this camera works. I'm going to take one with the filter, the infrared filter on, and one with the infrared filter off. And I'm going to let you know beforehand that if you've never seen this, it's going to be really cool. But also, this is a very low resolution camera, so... So this camera is built as an ultra zoom camera, and to illustrate that, I'm gonna take a picture of these blue flowers here. I'm gonna shoot it at its widest and then at its most zoomed in, and we're gonna see how far it zooms. So I hope you liked those pictures. So let's talk about this camera. This features a 2.1 megapixel half-inch CCD sensor. The ISO only goes up to 400, starts at 100. The lens is a 38 millimeter equivalent, and it goes all the way up to 380 millimeters, all optically, which, you know, sound like good stuff, but it's only a 2.1 megapixel sensor, which isn't great. And it also uses a pretty primitive smart media card. These, I think, only go up to like 256 or 128 megabytes. The one I got with this camera was 64 megabytes. And the camera only has 4 modes of shooting the JPEGs. Well, one of them is actually a TIFF. So you can get standard quality, high quality, super high quality, or TIFF. And super high quality is what I shot for the video. And I get about 45 of those on a 64 megabyte card. And at high quality, I get about like double of that, like more like 100, 120 shots. But at TIFF, I only get 11 shots. And it's very slow trying to render the TIFFs when you shoot. So you have to take a couple of seconds after every shot just to let the camera actually process that and save that. So it's not great. It's not something that's really capable for a lot of things, but I still enjoyed using it. It wasn't a bad camera to use overall. And it's really interesting to get that infrared on digital sensors. It's usually, you know, in the modern day, you try to get something that you're going to have to pay for a very expensive conversion or buy a specific camera, and those can be quite pricey. So for, you know, $30, this was a great deal. These used to retail for, I think, around $1,000 when they sold in stores originally, but obviously it's been like 22 years now. But, you know, all of that being said, for regular use, the pictures are fine. But you try to blow them up past, you know, just what you'd see on a phone screen, like over like 7-8 inches of space, it starts to really break down. You don't really get a lot of dynamic range, so I can't really recommend it. But, you know, for the right price and for a specific look, it's definitely not a bad choice. But if you saw my last video where I used a $10-15 point and shoot that I got at a charity shop, those were much better performing than something like this, even though this looks a lot bigger. I will say though that it's quite easy to use, and all the pictures, the stabilization is actually really well done. Everything looks fine. The colors don't look bad either. It's just resolution is really the biggest drawback with this camera. Yeah, I think that's really all I have to say. I actually started shooting this video a while ago in the fall, but after a while I moved on to other videos, and I just kept this idea like tabled for a little bit. So there's some footage from the GoPro, which is a little bit older, but most of the footage that you saw was filmed in the last month or so. I also graded some of the footage using Dehancer's beta of their Premiere Pro plugin, which is pretty cool, not gonna lie, but I don't really shoot a lot of log footage, so I'm not looking to use it a lot, but it works out really nice even with my, you know, regular footage that's not log. So, you know, when that comes out, be sure to check that out. And yeah, that's it for me. I'll see you in the next one.